Welcome to the Sports Forecasters Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to enjoy the show.
Welcome, folks, to the latest edition of the Sports Forecasters. I'm your host, Nick Alvarez, and today we are going to dive into the NFL Draft. As of this recording, it's NFL Draft Eve, and these are my 10 picks of the NFL Draft. For months now, many fans have been trying to figure out what their team will do or hope what their team will do as the NFL landscape has greatly changed since the Super Bowl concluded back in February. So without further ado, let's get started with our mock draft. For our mock draft, we're only going to go pick by pick with the top 10 picks while scanning through and giving some highlight picks for the remainder of the draft. My entire first round draft will be posted. So without further ado, let's start with the first pick of the NFL 2022 draft. And for the first pick of the NFL draft, I've heard Aiden Hutchinson. I've seen offensive linemen come up for the first pick of the draft. I've seen Trayvon Walker as the first pick in the draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I believe the first pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be Trayvon Walker. They want to pick out someone that's going to help this year. They're going to spend their pick on the defense, on Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman. They believe his upside is going to bring some much needed stability in a defensive unit that was up and down to say the least. That takes us to the second pick in the draft, where I believe the Detroit Lions will pounce on the opportunity to take the University of Michigan edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. Highly touted on many boards, the first pick. Wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville ended up going with a more proven commodity in Aiden Hutchinson. But in this draft board, my draft board, Jacksonville's going Trayvon Walker. Detroit gets someone from their backyard in Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher from Michigan. Moving on to the third pick in the draft, the Houston Texans. This one's a little difficult because of them moving off from Deshaun Watson. It's a whole new era in this. And because of their head coach being Lovie Smith, I know he loves his cornerbacks, what cornerback he takes. And today I'm going to say that defensive back is Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. New York Jets with the first of their two picks in the first round, their fourth round. They are the fourth pick in this year's draft. And with that pick, they're going to go with Jermaine Johnson II from Florida State. They're going to pass on Kayvon Thibodeau. There's been questions that interviews have been going the greatest, or there's some questions about interviews. So they're going to go with something safe. They're going to go with someone that they believe has more stability in what they can present to the team. For the fifth pick, the New York Football Giants, they're going to spend this pick on offensive lineman. I believe that offensive lineman is going to be Evan Neal out of Alabama. Out of position, he's ranked first. He will be an individual they can plug in right away into their offensive line, an offensive line that, quite frankly, had a gamut of problems, and he'll be one of the first pieces they put in to try to right the ship in that regard. Moving on to the sixth pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers have spent far too much capital on a quarterback. They will not be taking a quarterback here. They will be going with an offensive lineman, and that offensive lineman will be Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. Just like the Giants, they want to do something about that offensive line. Panthers might go for a quarterback in the second round or later rounds, but right now they're not feeling strong enough, and it's way too high for them to go for that. So for their sixth pick, offensive lineman Charles Cross. Maybe later in this draft, but most likely in the next draft, they'll try to get the quarterback of the future. Moving on to the seventh pick of the draft, New York Giants are up again. I believe they take Ahmad Gardner out of Cincinnati. I believe the Giants will love that press man ability that Gardner presents and be able to help out that defense to become a more stable unit. Giants had all kinds of holes, and so they're going to address some of their biggest holes, some of the biggest positions that you can fill that sometimes go underappreciated, to say the least, with their first pick, fifth, again, being the offensive lineman out of Alabama, Evan Neal, and then this pick being Ahmad Gardner out of Cincinnati, defensive back. Many have the Falcons trading out of this position. Some have them staying in this position in the number 8 pick. As of this moment, as of right now, I think the Falcons stay here. They stay put right now. After training Matt Ryan, it's no secret that Marcus Mariota is not their quarterback of the future, but he's the quarterback of this season. The Falcons don't want to waste the opportunity of where they're at here. Is there a scenario where they trade out of the spot? Yes, but for my mock draft, I'm keeping everyone put for right now. And for the Atlanta Falcons, I think they capitalize on the potential of never having Calvin Ridley, or when he does return the next season, having someone that is a little more seasoned, a little less green around the horn, so to speak. And I believe they take Drake London here, wide receiver out of USC, to start building another tandem, another dynasty in that regard, to where they're only missing one more piece of quarterback in the next year's draft. Moving on to number 9, Seattle Seahawks. I believe the Seattle Seahawks will be more than ecstatic to take the opportunity to draft Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Kayvon will bring a lot of edge presence that the Seahawks have been missing. Once they let Carlos Dunlap go, they just need something there that can help bring pressure. They're in a complete rebuild. You have to start somewhere, and I believe they'll start with someone that is very close to where their home base is, the product from Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau. Moving on to the number 10 pick, the last one I'm going to give for my pick by pick. I believe the Jets stay put here, and they're going to go offensive lineman here. I think they're going to go Akeem Aquanu to help solidify that offensive line. They give Zach Wilson plenty of time to make reads, make progressions, and be successful in their franchise. You don't want to spend a draft pick on a quarterback to not give him the opportunity to develop, to feel confident, to be successful. And those are my top 10 picks of this draft. Now, jumping around in the draft, just trying to hit some different things. With us recording out of Ohio, we're going to hit the Ohio State wide receivers, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I believe they go 11 and 12. Garrett Wilson going to Washington, Chris Olave going to Minnesota. Minnesota with a new regime wants I believe they go with Chris Olave just to help get that offensive turning, be more productive consistently throughout the season. My Philadelphia Eagles have 2 picks this year. As of tonight, I believe they're going to spend one of the picks on a wide receiver. Many speculate Jameson Williams. I can't really disagree. After I have all these other receivers go off the board, I think they go with him and go in the rebuild. Quite honestly, if one of the other receivers fall, I think those would be better to take because of the health right now. Tears in the knee are not what they once were. I believe it was an ACL tear he had. So them taking him would not be heartbreaking, but I do think they need to spend the pick on a wide receiver, one that is proven. Jameson Williams, before he went down, was someone trending in that direction. For their second pick, I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go with Jordan Davis, defensive lineman out of Georgia. They flirted with the idea of Fletcher Cox not being a part of the franchise anymore. I think they'll make things work out to where he retires an Eagle, or that's my hope at least. I do believe they look to go defensive line. That's why I really think with that second pick, especially if he's still on the board, they'll go with Jordan Davis. Brandon Graham is getting older. Derek Barrett isn't exactly on the field consistently. So you need to start building that depth to have a good rotation, to have a competitive rotation like you did when you made that Super Bowl run. So I believe they go wide receiver and defensive line there. For this year's draft, it has been grossly overstated that the quarterback class is not as strong as it has been in the past. In the past, we've had clear number ones, we've had 5 quarterbacks, we've had multiple quarterbacks, and we just couldn't figure out who would go in the first round. In this year's draft, the question is, are there going to be quarterbacks to go in the first round? And the answer is absolutely yes, there's going to be. What teams are going to make the moves for those quarterbacks are going to be teams that have situations with quarterbacks where they have a individual in place right now, but that's not the individual they're in love with right now. Or for this mock draft that I put together as of now, I believe only 2 quarterbacks go in the first round. Patience is going to be key this year. in picking a quarterback in a position where you're not stretching too much for them. I believe the first quarterback to go off the board will be in the mid-teens. I believe the New Orleans Saints will be the first team to draft a quarterback in this year's draft. Whether they do it the first pick or the second pick, I think they'll do it the first pick, just not to risk too much. It's more appealing to be able to have the first pick of the litter. I believe they go with Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. Great opportunity for Malik if that's the case. He gets a chance to pretty well sit behind Jameis Winston, learn the system, find success, and if the Saints can continue the success they had when they used to be under Sean Payton, it could be a blossoming career for Malik. The second team in this draft that I believe will take a quarterback, as of my current version of the mock draft, will be the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions will take the opportunity to get a quarterback to see what will be next with Jared Goff, or if they can move off of Jared Goff. Now, if it's not the Lions taking the quarterback in the 32nd pick, it's going to be whoever trades in for that spot. Whoever trades back in for these last few picks in the first round will take a quarterback. If I was to say the second quarterback that will be picked in this year's draft, again, I'm going to keep Detroit there for right now and penciling him in there. Teams will want to go for Matt Corral because of his time with Lane Kiffin, an individual that was in the NFL, individual that was at Alabama and found much success. They'll feel confident that he instilled in him NFL-like concepts, giving someone confidence to take Matt as a second quarterback in this draft. And that's my quick look at the NFL draft. Again, for my first 10 picks, I have the Jaguars taking Trayvon Walker, Detroit taking Aiden Hutchinson, Houston taking Derek Stingley Jr., the Jets with their first pick taking Jermaine Johnson II, the New York Giants with their first pick taking Evan Neal, Carolina taking Charles Cross, the New York Giants with their second first round pick taking Ahmad Gardner, Atlanta taking Drake London, Seattle taking Kayvon Thibodeau, with the Jets taking Akeem Kwanu. Again, I'm just giving my first 10 picks. Give us your thoughts on what you think your team will do in this year's draft. Are you hopeful? Is there someone you're really hoping for? Or are you hoping they trade away those picks and make a splashy move for some of the disgruntled wide receivers or individuals with their respective franchises? Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the draft, folks, and we'll be back at you on Sunday to give our thoughts and reflections on what we thought about the draft and what that means for the teams in the future. You've been listening to Sports Forecasters. I'm Nick Alvarez, and we'll see you next time.